Well, good evening, everyone. Well, let's see if it's working. Here we go. There we are. Good evening. How are you all this evening? We had a little technical glitch there. My name's Paul,
Good evening, this is Bev.
and this is our health condition workshop on carpal tunnel syndrome. We have a great presentation that we did a couple of years ago. Mara Cordova, and she has some great information in here. We're going to do her presentation, and then we'll come on and teach you the few sets of points that can help with carpal tunnel. If you have any questions, you can post it on Facebook, YouTube. We'll try to answer them. And we're just going to jump right into her recorded interview, and then we'll be right back with you. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah.
So I was asked to come and talk to you today about carpal tunnel syndrome and how we might work with it at doing body work or other varieties of therapies that we do at Peaceful Spirit. The first thing that I'd like to talk to people about, they are concerned that they might have carpal tunnel syndrome, is whether or not they actually have carpal tunnel syndrome. Because thoracic outlet syndrome makes the same exact pain pattern as carpal tunnel syndrome. And so it's oftentimes misdiagnosed. So because they have the same exact pain pattern, you often have the numbing of the hands, arms falling asleep at night. Thoracic outlet syndrome is the compression of the median nerve up here where it's coming out of the neck. And so it's being compressed by your scalene muscles and other neck muscles as it comes out underneath your rib. Carpal tunnel syndrome is inflammation in the actual carpal tunnel, which is in the wrist. So back in the old days when people actually typed on typewriters and their hands were in this position all day long, or you were working in a factory where you had to do a lot of repetitive movement and your wrist was compressed, which is why you started seeing carpal tunnel syndrome really come forward. Most people today, when they type on keyboards, they have a much flatter wrist situation. So it's oftentimes sleeping or other kinds of repetitive motions that might actually irritate your carpal tunnel. With any inflammation in the body, you want to be thinking about anti-inflammatory actions, like flushing it with ice, doing alternate hot and cold compresses, and some things like that. But the first and foremost is to make sure that the problem isn't really in the wrist. Maybe it's that the nerve is compressed somewhere starting up at the nerve root, coming out of the neck, through the neck muscles, and down through the arm. So one of the best things I've ever learned as a body worker, and the thing that I teach, is that where the pain is doesn't necessarily mean that's where the problem is. Because there's referred pain that happens all the time. You have trigger points in your neck that refer to your head. You've got trigger points in the shoulder that refer to the elbow, and so on through the entire whole body. So when we, I caution people, don't be a hammer that all you see is nails. Right? If you're having a person or yourself that's having a pain problem, it's like, oh, I have a pain here. We focus here, but remember that it could be coming from somewhere else. And so understanding the structure of the body is helpful, meaning where are the bones, the muscles, the nerves, the blood vessels. That can be really, really helpful. But searching or consulting with experts about the idea of what referred pain patterns for a particular area of the body would be a very, very smart idea whenever you're starting to work on yourself or work on anybody else. So I know that was really kind of fast. I have a few minutes more. Does anybody have any specific questions before I go on to the next
So how do you test for
thoracic outlet syndrome?
compared to carpal tunnel? Is there a test to know whether it's one or the other?
There isn't really a test. I mean, there might be in a medical doctor's office, but what I look for is how are the scalenes feeling? The scalenes are the muscles that do head flexion. They contribute a little bit to some rotation, but they predominantly do side flexion of the neck. So if you have range of motion of your head that isn't full range of motion, and you're only able to turn your head, to just a few degrees in either direction, or you can't really flex all the way over, then you feel it pulling, you might have tight neck muscles. It certainly wouldn't hurt to do work in the neck as well. Thoracic outlet syndrome was very common amongst baseball pitchers. So again, thinking about how you or the person you're working with uses their body repetitively will also tell you. If you're not doing anything that's compressing the carpal tunnel, then why would you get carpal tunnel syndrome, right? You'd have to be doing something that's aggravating the wrist to have a direct problem right there, right? So if the person is doing a lot of lifting and twisting, then maybe their problem is coming from somewhere else, just as an example. So examining movement patterns is a really, really important component to working with yourself and with other people, because most of our soft tissue problems come from some level of repetitive movement doing. And it's not just the working on the factory line doing this, right? Or let's use today as an example. We're typing on a computer doing this. Well, we're also driving cars. And then if we sleep like this, and then we're cooking like this, everything that we're doing then is all in front of us like this. Or we have a hobby of needlepoint or knitting, something like that. Everything we're doing is in this position. So it's the culmination of doing all of those things over time that creates the syndrome of all of your muscles in this part of your body becoming short and tight. So if you think about any blood vessels, nerves, muscles, fascia that's right here, we have shrunk it. We've made it smaller. And the portion on the back side of our body, we've overstretched or made long. Because to make this short, that backside has to lengthen, right? When we're flexing like this side gets short, this side gets long. So even if you watch TV a lot, or you have a TV monitor or a computer monitor, and it's slightly to the left, you're sitting, but your entire life is, 15 degrees to the left. All of this is getting short, and this is staying long because you're repetitively looking in that one direction, right? So you have a movement pattern that sets you up for something else. Does that make sense? So what do you do with that? Put the TV monitor on the other side, if you can. But being mindful of all of the different areas in your world where you're having that same movement pattern. How we get in and out of the car every day, how we get out of bed. We're doing all of this on autopilot. And we tend to then overwork the same groups of muscles in the same exact fashion. And so just as a reminder, muscles are round. Almost all of them are round in the sense that muscles look like if you were to take a bunch of straws and hold them together or put twist ties around them, right? So each of those straws is a fiber in the muscle, or a row of cells. And then those straws are grouped together in bands, and then bands are grouped together to make an entire muscle. So you could be overworking certain straws, right? So the whole muscle isn't affected, but certain straws in the group are, because you always get out of bed like this, or you always get out of the chair like that, or you always get into the car like this, right? And so if you imagine over your lifetime of driving, how many times you would have done that exact action, and then if you drive for a living and you're getting in and out of the car a lot, then you're going to be overworking that one leg and that one set of muscles on that one side of the body. Yes, ma'am.
Because we are on autopilot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The client comes who may not have a clue.
That's correct.
What they do repetitively. How do you help them discover their own patterns so that you can do the work that you need to do?
Similarly to how I'm describing it to you right now, is for them to, but I ask, I think about what kind of work that they do or what their hobbies are, right? And so then I literally put my body in the shape of what it is that they're doing. So I don't know if it'll mess with the camera if I get up and move around, but let's just do it in upper body. Let's pretend I'm a tennis player right now and I'm at the ready. Squatting, I'm ready. I have my racket in my hand, right? So if I play tennis repetitively, I might say to the person, do you do a lot of backhand? Are you always someone who reorients themselves for forehand, right? Well, always backhand. Okay, well now I do that with my body and I show them. So this action, if you play tennis 3 times a week and you do a lot of backhand work, which muscles do you feel right now while you're moving? You know? So by putting my body in the shape of that person's actions and then have them recreate that movement with me, then they're thinking about what muscles are working. That was a great question. And I often will exaggerate the movement when I'm teaching just to make it obvious to them, you know. Great question. Other questions you might have about carpal tunnel syndrome? So the bottom line is that carpal tunnel syndrome is an impingement of the median nerve. So it's a nerve impingement. And so the question is, why is it impinged and how do you get it unpinged? You know, how do you release it? So it's that idea. So even just educating somebody that you're working on so that they can visualize in their body where that nerve runs along so they can feel it brings a mindfulness to what's going on for them. And then they can use their own thoughts of directing relaxation or feeling micro restrictions in their body, right? Because just thinking a movement to your pinky finger will create a micro movement. This would be a macro movement, right? But if you're just thinking about twitch my pinky, even though you might not see a movement, it's moving. Where something's moving, there can't be spasm. It's a physics thing, right? So if we think about micro movements of areas, it can help the body to relax the holding pattern that might be going on for them. But most importantly, it's our body. We should know how it works and we should know where our stuff is inside. You know, so if we have some understanding of that, then it makes us able to work from the inside out to help ourselves get better. Any other questions or thoughts?
So the median nerve. So for a lay person, there's a tunnel in there that gets constricted, or
yeah. So in some of the handouts, if you looked at that, so all of the nerves and structures coming down from the neck and through the forearm, they're going to come through your wrist to your hand. Above that is a retinaculum or a tendinous material to hold everything in. So like, have you ever wrapped your ankle in an ace bandage? What that looks like? Well, that's what the retinaculum looks like on your ankle. I mean, the actual tissue looks like an ankle wrapping. Well, it's that same kind of concept around your hand and your wrist. So it's called the tunnel because everything is filing in through a tunnel to come through on the other side. So it's an inflammation or a restriction of the nerves becoming irritated on the inside of that tunnel. Again, if you think about pinching off an extension cord, like if you bend an extension cord in half, well, now you're bending all your nerves. Your nerves are extension cords from your neck to wherever they go, your whole spinal column. So you're pinching it off. So this side gets hot because it's coming from the source of energy. This side gets cold, numb, tingly, or like insufficient energy coming through because it's pinched off on the other side of the cord. So the lamp won't light up on this end. Yeah. So that's one of the best descriptions of nerves I can give you. And so it's a very tight little space in there. And we're not meant to be doing this all day long. You know, we weren't designed to operate that way. So you don't want to be doing that. Great question. Did I answer your question sufficiently?
You did.
Okay, good.
That was very good.
Thanks. Any other questions?
And so what do you do for massage?
Well, for me, if it's true carpal tunnel syndrome where everything is inflamed, I'm not really going to do a massage for the wrist. I'm going to suggest anti-inflammatory types of activities like alternates, hot and cold. Therapy, I might suggest acupuncture. Certainly topical anti-inflammatory would be good too, arnica and those kinds of things. But I always investigate the neck first. I look to release the scaling, release the pecs and pec minor to try to open up the brachial plexus is a bundle of nerves that's right over here, brachial plexus. And so I look to just make sure that there's enough space in there as well, always, and see if that helps to relieve some of the symptoms. So that way you can, diagnose. They can self-diagnose, or if they go to the doctor, it's like, oh, well, it got better with doing this work up here, Sometimes it's both.
Does stretching in the opposite direction assist anyone?
Well, that's one of the recommendations in the handouts is doing stretches like this, basically doing the opposite action of this, right? We're trying to open it up. But one of the key things is if something's already irritated and inflamed, we want to be mindful to not overdo it because you're going to just irritate in the other direction. This would almost be like an overstretch because now you're taking something that's irritated and inflamed and expecting it to go beyond its normal, by force, if you're trying to force it. So the key would be to stop doing the repetitive action of this first and keep your arms in a neutral, which is why they often give you wrist brace, something like that, some compressions to help you retrain your hands. Piano players, that would be another person as far as piano technique. Some guitar, violin, those would be another examples of, musicians have a lot of repetitive movement with their hands. So yes, stretching is always a good idea, but stretching mindfully, and working up to it. More isn't always better.
So you took the BioTouch class. Do you think BioTouch could help?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think
Trick question.
Trick question. Yes. Yes. That's a bigger story. I have 2.5 minutes. Like I was trying to figure out how to be succinct, but I think all energy work has value, period, end of statement, as far as that's concerned. I also will briefly say that the placebo effect wins 40 to 60% of the time in every single double-blind research study conducted. So the placebo effect, you believe it's going to work. It's going to work 40 to 60% of the time. So whether it's the BioTouch that's working or you're healing yourself with your thoughts, who knows and who cares? You get better. Either way you win, and I am personally of the ilk that when you have an intention and somebody else has an intention, even though you don't have to have an intention in BioTouch necessarily, but if you happen to have an intention, while you're working on somebody, you get synergistic results. You get exponential results. And that has been scientifically tested with monks praying around the world and all different kinds of ways, that you get synergistic results when you have groups of people having the same intention projected into the universe. So, yes.
All right, there we go. Succinct. It's a very succinct presentation, but loaded with stuff.
Really, really, really. Wow. As usual, we have great presenters, don't we?
Yeah, I forgot that presentation.
Yeah, me too. Especially that neck, because I know somebody who's can barely move his head side to side and has always gotten pain right here.
Right, the whole
Uh-huh.
brachial plexus. Right.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about some of these key things in here: inflammation, mindfulness. There's lots of little
Right.
things, and we'll pick that up on our Monday show.
Exactly.
Because today we just want to spend time showing you the few sets of points to work with BioTouch. and we're going to let Bev do the teaching. Take it away, Bev.
Okay, let me get into our workbook. If you have our workbook, you can follow along with us. So just to briefly go over our workbook, the first page is always just a overview of the health condition that we like to present, just to kind of orient you in what we'll be talking about, what it is. So definitely start with that page, just kind of gives you an idea. So let's get to it and go to what is BioTouch on page 6. So for those who are new, we always like to go over this a little bit. Those of you who come to these regularly, I'm sure that you have heard this before, but it doesn't hurt to reteach it a little bit. So BioTouch is a very simple hands-on healing technique that literally can be used to address any condition the body can manifest. And basically, it is just using the first 2 fingers of your hands, lightly touching on the skin like a butterfly, is what we say. Right off the bat, I'm going to say, because we always have this question, can you do BioTouch on yourself? Our pat answer is, well, the basic definition of BioTouch is one person touching another person lightly on the skin, which infers a relationship. So we always say, if you can reach those points on your body, we really don't know if it's effective or not, but why not? But by definition, that is not BioTouch. And what we like to present is this amazing technique that literally brings people together in love, just to honor each other, and bodies get better. So let's four basic bullets that we go over. First one is, it's easy to learn. Yes, we have, in fact, the workshop tonight is a prime example of one of the ways that we can share with you. You don't have to learn the whole system. We're just really presenting specific points tonight for a specific condition. So that's very easy to learn. But we do have other ways, of course, that Paul will go over later, for you to learn and begin to practice effectively. That's a big one for BioTouch. It is a complementary technique, or actually, we have discovered it's very integrative. It complements any other practice you may be doing, whether it's a strict diet, you're under a doctor's care, you're doing other modalities, an exercise program, supplements. It doesn't matter what you're doing. BioTouch is going to enhance that healing journey that you're on. It has no levels of ability. This is probably the #1 ingredient that makes BioTouch unique, because the only thing is required is a desire, a compassion to help another human being. Every single one of us already has the means to learn and to practice BioTouch. And everyone, the minute that you begin to practice it, you will be effective. That is how it works. No levels of ability. You don't even have to know the anatomy. We have a specific language, as you'll see when we go over these couple of points tonight. So there's no special knowledge or anything. Just learning those 17 sets of points can just open up opportunities for you to help others. This last bullet, it requires no special preparation, belief, or a state of mind. We don't have a philosophy. The foundation does not hold a philosophy. We do not have a belief system. We honor all practices, all philosophies. standing at a neutral place. You don't have to prepare yourself because you think somebody's negative and you don't want to get their negative stuff. You don't have to prepare a room. All you have to do is have those two fingers and wanting to help someone. That's literally all you need. And you carry those around all the time. So we like to say BioTouch, you can practice it anytime, anywhere, with anyone. That's how it is. So there's a few things that we like to go over just in preparation to begin a session. We always want to wash our hands before touching anyone. It's, again, one person touching another person. We begin every session with what the first set we're going to show you tonight, called the greeting. We want to begin every session with that before you do anything else. Always use the first two fingers of each hand, touch lightly on the skin like a butterfly. All those points that we're going to be sharing with you, we hold those 6 to 8 seconds. That's just the way it was given. Why? We don't really know, but that is what it seems the body likes to have, 6 to 8 seconds for each point. And again, it can be practiced anywhere with anyone, anytime. And yes, more than one practitioner or associate, as we're going to go into, may work together on someone. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we won't go over these terms on the next page. We go over those when we are actually teaching the classes. But these first two bullets we do like to go over with you, because in the beginning I said that BioTouch builds a relationship of healing between two people. And in a relationship, we know that both people involved give and receive. And this is what happens with BioTouch. So the person that does BioTouch is called the associate. And we like to use this word. Because it describes a role of one who is inspired to pursue this work. In the dictionary, two different meanings. One is one often in the company of another, implying an intimacy or equality, or in this case, both. There is an intimacy, a safe place that BioTouch provides when that associate steps up in front of them. But equality, again, is what BioTouch offers in that relationship. And number two, one having an interest in common with another. The other person in that relationship we call the recipient. This is the person that is going to receive BioTouch. So we just like to open that up for you so that you know those are the two main characters in this wonderful relationship of healing. Paul, did you want to say something at this point?
Yeah, we'll talk about what you've got here with the manual. The manual, there's 2 pages to each set. And on the first page, you have a drawing, as you see here. And there's little numbers on that drawing. At the bottom of that page, you have a description of touch point 1, touch point 2. But you'll notice at the bottom of that page completely, there's a purple link. Click here to watch the video. That will take you to a video of someone doing the points while they're telling you where the points are. And those words are on the second page of exactly how to find those points. And again, there's another link to that video. So between looking at the pictures, the drawings, looking at the words, and watching the video, you really can't go wrong in figuring out where these points are for BioTouch.
Yeah, we have made it quite easy. So let's go ahead and begin. As I said, the very first set that we're going to introduce is the greeting. It's very simple, but it has amazing effects. So this seems to, it kind of sets up that relationship between the associate and the recipient, bringing a harmony between the two. The one difference in unique part of this particular set is we will only be using one hand, as you will see in the video, and it will tell us to use a specific hand. That is your dominant hand. So as you see, there's only 2 points. You will use your dominant hand for point 1 and for point 2. So let's begin and watch the video of the greeting.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
Okay, so we've done the greeting and now we can begin to address the body. The second set that we're going to show you is called the metabolism set. And in the very beginning, she was talking about the first thing that she said was inflammation in the body. So this metabolism set is great because it really helps the body to get rid of what it doesn't want and to assimilate into itself what it does. So it has a very far-reaching effect for anything that the body's trying to eliminate. So this is a really good one to start with. I might add that in these workbooks, we begin with these basic sets of points that we feel will just get you started with the condition. But as you will see, and we'll talk about later, there are many things that will come to you that you can also use. So these are just very basic things. Metabolism set is one of them. It's really a great thing to use for carpal tunnel. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
The metabolism set can be used to help the body assimilate what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need. The metabolism set has 2 steps. Step 1 involves touching points in matching fire along the large muscles on the front of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are located above the collarbone in the soft indentations on both sides of the notch at the top of the breastbone. Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck on the front of the large muscles. Points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck on the front of the large muscles. The second step involves holding a point on the front of the body and touching points next to the spine on the back. Hold point X on the front of the body is on a line directly between where the nipples would be on a youth and is 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. Another way to find X is 1/3 of the way up the breastbone from greeting point 1 and 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. The points on the back are located next to the spine, forming a rectangle around the breakover point. The breakover point is where the bottom of the rib cage joins the spine and can be found by imagining a line directly through the body from greeting point 1. To perform step 2, find hold point X on the front of the body and touch points 1 through 4 on the back. Point 1 is approximately 1 to 2 inches up from the breakover point on the left spine muscle. Point 2 is directly across from point 1 on the right spine muscle. Point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on the right spine muscle. Point 4 is used to address blood sugar problems and is added to the other metabolism points when needed. It is located across from point 3 on the left spine muscle.
Okay. The next set is the neck set, and I think we all remember Mara going into those muscles that are pulled in the neck could be the culprit. So this is kind of a no-brainer because the neck set really it addresses all those nerves that lead to neck pains and anything that has to do with muscles, the nerves in the neck, but also down into the extremities, the upper extremities, into the arms, into the wrist, into the fingers. So this is really a great one to do because you're actually addressing not just the neck itself, but all those nerves that she was talking about. So this is a really good one. Let's go ahead and watch that video.
The neck set is used for addressing most headaches, neck pains, and soreness of the upper back. These points are performed in matching fire on the large muscles that run along the back of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are halfway down the neck on the side of the large muscles. Points 2 and 2 are at the top of the neck on the side of the large muscles at the base of the skull. Points 3 and 3 are at the bottom of the neck on the side of the large muscles. As with any set, you may repeat the points as many times as you like. These points may be touched in any order, such as touching points 2, then points 1, and finally points 3.
Okay, the last, not really sets of points, but BioTouch does have an amazing ability to address areas of the body besides those sets of points that make up the system. So we call it addressing the extremities. And I was just talking about the upper extremities, all those nerves that run down. And so this is really a great opportunity to address right in that area where the pain is. In this case, it would be in the wrist for carpal tunnel, all those nerves that go along there. So
yeah,
Paul?
if you look at that picture too on that page, you have, and we're going to show that where you hold on the neck area, and then the little picture that I'm highlighting where you then work around where that carpal tunnel and all those nerves are. So we'll show the video on how to address that part of it.
Enhancements in local work may be performed anywhere extra attention is needed due to disease, pain,
All right.
Yeah.
So we showed that because a lot of the work that you'll do will be that local work, as Mara was telling us. And we just had a question from Jennifer. She asked, a friend of hers tried all kinds of alternative things for her carpal tunnel problem and has decided finally to go for surgery and wanted to know if BioTouch, what's the pros and cons of adding BioTouch to that. Nothing finer, as I wrote back. Pre-session, pre and post-op. It gets the body ready. It helps with the healing immediately. And then, as we talked about in this last video, the scar tissue. You can do this BioTouch, especially adding the metabolism set to help the body not form scar tissue. And if you've had scar tissue, I've actually seen scar tissue break down and leave after a period of time even. So if you've decided that you need to do the operation, and some people do, again, with BioTouch, we're not concerned with and or this or that. BioTouch is, as Bev said in the beginning, a great complement. It's integrated with whatever you want to do. And we are here to help you understand how to use it with your healthcare program.
We are.
So, anything else? That was a quick, simple.
Yep.
It's a painful experience, but can be addressed simply. And as Mara said too, even if it's placebo, who cares if you feel better?
Right. Isn't that the point?
And it's really about putting love into action. That's what BioTouch is.
Yes.
It's as simple as we shared about the associate. You're in a relationship with someone. BioTouch is a healing through relationship. And so we're here to teach you how to do that. If you have any questions about carpal tunnel and how to help with BioTouch, drop us an email, office@justtouch.com, and we'll get back with you right away. Otherwise, we'll see you next month and for our other workshop. If you're interested in any of the other health conditions, go to our website, justtouch.com, and up on top, there's a drop-down menu for health conditions, and we have many, many, many presentations that we've done. I think 60 or some odd health conditions.
Wow. Look at us.
All right. Thank you, Bev. You did a great job.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Take care.